Hello everyone, thanks for checking out the channel. If you like this video, please remember to like, and if you subscribe, be sure to comment below. I reply to every comment. Deep within the heart of the dense forest, I sought refuge from the relentless chaos of city life that had worn me thin. The sun's descent beneath the horizon was a mesmerizing spectacle, casting whimsical, dancing shadows among the tall, ancient trees. As darkness stealthily advanced, its cool fingers brushed against the woods, sending a palpable chill that seemed to creep down my spine like the tendrils of an unseen specter. Around me, the campfire crackled in a soothing rhythm, its mesmerizing dance offering not only warmth, but also a reassuring companionship in the solitude. I found myself perched on a weathered log, my gaze locked onto the flickering flames as they flickered and danced like wraiths lost in an otherworldly ballet. Amidst the soothing crackling, a faint rustling sound brushed against my ears, a mere whisper in the night. I brushed it off, attributing it to the playful activities of a nocturnal creature. Yet a persistent undercurrent of unease began to gnaw at the edges of my thoughts. Minutes flowed seamlessly into hours as I sat cocooned within my thoughts, immersing myself in the calming embrace of nature. I contemplated the serenity of my surroundings, the gentle sway of the trees, and the tranquil symphony of crickets and distant owls. Yet, as time wandered on, I couldn't shake the feeling that the forest held its breath, as if a vigilant sentinel stood watch over my solitude. With the encroaching night, I determined it was time to retreat into the sanctuary of my tent. The cool night air held promises of restful slumber, an opportunity to be embraced. Within the cozy confines of my sleeping bag, I carefully zipped the tent shut, sealing myself within its fabric walls. I laid there, still and hopeful, as the night's embrace settled around me. But the tranquility of the forest was shattered by a sound that tore through the night air, a guttural growl that reverberated like an unsettling echo. My heart catapulted into a frenzy of rapid beats pounding like a distant drum, for the sound was all too familiar. The ominous growl of a black panther, a creature renowned for its deadly prowess. Paralyzed by fear, I found myself inhaling shallow, ragged breaths. The once comforting rustle of leaves and the gentle snap of twigs became ominous warnings, each sound sending tremors down my spine. Beyond the thin fabric of the tent, the world felt dense and heavy, an inky void concealing the presence of the panther, a creature that stalked my camp with an eerie sense of purpose. Fear took root, sending tendrils of imagination sprawling. My mind conjured images of gleaming, predatory eyes glinting in the darkness, and sleek, powerful muscles poised to strike with deadly precision. My flashlight, clutched in my clammy hand, felt like a meager lifeline against the vast, unknown void that enveloped me. As hours unfolded like slow-motion waves, I found myself trapped in a relentless cycle of fatigue and fear. Just as my eyelids threatened to surrender to exhaustion, a bone-chilling roar cleaved through the night's silence like a blade. Adrenaline surged through my veins, a surge of energy that intensified my grip on the flashlight. In that moment, the beam of light became my talisman, a source of strength that flickered defiantly against the consuming darkness. The promise of dawn beckoned on the horizon, a distant glimmer of hope against the omnipresent terror. The panther's menacing aura persisted, an obstinate stalker unswayed by my silent pleas for its departure. With each passing moment, the forest began to stir. There was the hopeful, melodious chorus of birdsong, the gentle rustling of leaves as nature itself seemed to exhale in the face of a new day. As the first rays of light pierced the darkness, the forest underwent a metamorphosis. The shadows that had danced so eerily now retreated, unveiling a realm of verdant serenity. Tentatively, I emerged from my tent, shivers coursing down my spine as I bore witness to the tranquil morning that had remained concealed throughout the long, harrowing night. The memory of that night, of symphonic roars and lurking dread, etched itself indelibly into my mind. The primal fear, the raw vulnerability, and the unwavering determination to survive all melded into a profound experience that left an indelible mark. As I stood amidst the grandeur of nature's theater, my understanding expanded. my perspective shifted by the raw ferocity that lay beneath the veneer of serenity. The heart of Yellowstone National Park beckoned me on that moonless night, its mystique and allure impossible to resist. Eagerly, I ventured into the depths of the eerie forest, feeling a mixture of trepidation and excitement. The wind rustled through the trees, creating an eerie symphony of ghostly whispers that seemed to surround me, while the darkness seemed to swallow the world whole. Each step I took was like an involuntary dance, as if an unseen force guided my movements. It was as though the forest itself had a plan for me, leading me deeper into its enigmatic embrace. The rhythmic crunch of leaves underfoot and the occasional snap of a twig were the only sounds that punctuated the haunting stillness. A faint, flickering light danced tantalizingly in the distance, like a distant star inviting me to explore its secrets. My heart raced, torn between an instinctual desire to turn back and an irresistible curiosity pulling me forward. With each step, the light grew brighter, casting elongated shadows that seemed to dance with a life of their own. The light led me through a labyrinth of towering trees and tangled undergrowth, until I finally stumbled upon it, an old, dilapidated cabin hidden away in the heart of the woods. As if in a trance, I approached the cabin, my breath hitching as the air around me grew icy, sending shivers down my spine. It was as though the very atmosphere held a palpable tension, a weighty anticipation of what lay ahead. The cabin's door stood slightly ajar, creaking eerily in the wind. My heart pounded in my chest, a mix of fear and anticipation coursing through my veins. An inexplicable force drew me towards the entrance, as if an invisible hand were gently guiding me inside. The creaking door yielded with an eerie groan, revealing the dimly lit interior. And there she stood, a woman. Her figure ethereal and translucent, with hauntingly hollow eyes that seemed to pierce through the depths of my soul. Her voice, soft and mournful, echoed in my mind, recounting a tale of love betrayed and a life cut short by tragedy. I stood frozen, unable to tear my gaze away as her words etched themselves into the very core of my being. As her story unfolded, I could feel the weight of her sorrow settling over me, wrapping its tendrils around my heart. It was as if I was living her pain, her anguish, and her unfulfilled longing. Time seemed to stand still as I became a captive audience to her tale, lost in a world that straddled the realms of the living and the departed. Her hand reached out, fingers like tendrils of ice that brushed against my cheek. A surge of panic and desperation jolted me out of my reverie, and with an adrenaline-fueled burst of energy, I tore myself away from her grip. The cabin seemed to groan in protest as I stumbled out into the night, the darkness of the forest enveloping me once again. The very woods seemed to close in around me, trees leaning in like gnarled fingers eager to ensnare me in their clutches. Whispers and faint laughter echoed in the distance, chilling me to the bone. It was as though a legion of unseen spirits reveled in my fear, their presence palpable and unsettling. I tripped and fell, the forest floor unforgiving as I struggled to regain my footing. Leaves and dirt clung to my clothes, and a sense of disorientation clouded my thoughts. When I looked up, a mixture of dread and disbelief washed over me. I had returned to the cabin, its decaying frame standing as a sentinel of the supernatural. And there she was again, the ghostly woman, her figure framed by the cabin's threshold. Her gaze, fixed upon me, seemed to hold a depth of sorrow that transcended time itself. Panic surged through me anew, and with a determination born of sheer survival instinct, I turned and fled deeper into the woods, as if the very fabric of reality had bent to accommodate my desperate escape. Time became an elusive concept as I pushed myself through the unforgiving terrain, the darkness, a constant companion that seemed to both shield and threaten me. Hours might have passed, or perhaps only minutes. Time seemed to warp and bend, adhering to the rules of the forest rather than the world I knew. Finally, after what felt like an eternity of stumbling and scrambling, I broke through the dense undergrowth and stumbled upon a ranger station, a beacon of safety amidst the haunting unknown. Gasping for breath, I stumbled inside. desperation in my eyes as I recounted my harrowing encounter to the ranger on duty. As my words spilled forth, the ranger's expression morphed from curiosity to a bone-chilling realization. He confirmed what I had feared. Decades ago, a woman named Eleanor had lived in that very cabin. Her life had been one of betrayal and heartache, and she had met a tragic end, left to perish alone in the depths of the unforgiving forest. Locals spoke of her spirit, a vengeful force that lured unsuspecting souls into her web of sorrow. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. Had I not managed to break free from her grasp, I might have met the same fate as those who had come before me. The memory of that fateful night in Yellowstone's haunted woods still sends shivers down my spine. The ghostly whispers continue to echo in the corners of my mind, a constant reminder of the thin veil that separates the living from the realm of the departed. Even now, I can feel the phantom touch of her icy fingers, a cold chill that refuses to be forgotten. The forest, with its mysteries and secrets, serves as a haunting reminder that some encounters defy rational explanation, leaving us to grapple with the unknown. I was driving home on a quiet, moonlit night, the road stretching ahead like a ribbon through the darkness. The hum of the engine and the soft music playing on the radio were my only companions. The feeling of solitude was both peaceful and eerie, like being in my own little bubble within the world. As I turned onto a deserted stretch of road, a chill ran down my spine. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Glancing in the rearview mirror, my heart skipped a beat. There, illuminated by my headlights, was a car following closely behind me. My stomach twisted into knots, and I told myself it was just a coincidence, someone else traveling the same way. But as I continued on, so did the car behind me, maintaining a constant distance. Unease settled in, and I decided to test my theory by making a sudden turn onto a side road. To my horror, the other car followed suit, its headlights now casting an eerie glow on my rear bumper. My mind raced, and I began to consider my options. I couldn't go home. I couldn't let this stranger know where I lived. Panic started to grip me, and my hands trembled on the steering wheel. I had to shake this pursuer off my tail. I made a series of random turns, trying to lose the car behind me, but it stuck like glue. The roads became narrower, and the surroundings grew increasingly unfamiliar. My heart pounded in my chest, each beat a stark reminder of the danger I was in. I couldn't call the police. I didn't even know what to tell them. So I kept driving, desperation gnawing at my mind. Suddenly, a flicker of hope ignited within me as I spotted a gas station up ahead. Maybe I could pull in and find help. As I neared the station, I stole a quick glance in my mirror. The other car was still there, as if this were some kind of sick game. My breath caught in my throat. I pulled into the gas station and practically leaped out of my car, my legs shaky and weak. My eyes darted around, searching for a store or anyone who could help me. But the station was eerily deserted, the only sound being the faint buzz of the overhead lights. Then, out of nowhere, a figure appeared from behind the gas pumps. My heart leapt at the sight of another person, relief washing over me like a tidal wave. It was a middle-aged man, dressed in worn clothing. I rushed up to him, stumbling over my words as I explained the situation. He listened calmly, his expression unreadable. After a tense moment, he finally spoke, his voice low and grave. He told me that I had unknowingly stumbled into a dangerous game that people in the area whispered about in hushed tones. The game was simple. Someone would be chosen to be followed, and the pursuer would never let them escape. If the person being followed managed to evade their pursuer until dawn, they would win a substantial amount of money. I felt a mix of disbelief and terror. It sounded like something out of a horror movie, but the car behind me was all too real. The man offered to help me, saying he knew the lay of the land better than anyone. He suggested we team up to lose my pursuer. With no other options, I agreed. He hopped into his old pickup truck, and we sped off into the night, taking sharp turns and winding through back roads. The tension was palpable, every second feeling like an eternity. I glanced at the clock. It was nearing dawn, and the pursuit showed no sign of letting up. Just as despair was about to consume me, the sun's first rays began to streak across the sky. We had made it. The car following me eventually gave up the chase, disappearing into the early morning mist. As the man and I caught our breath, he explained that the people behind this game were deeply entrenched in the shadows, and involving the police would only put us in greater danger. He advised me to leave town and keep quiet about the incident, to erase any trace of my involvement. I took his advice to heart. I packed up my belongings, said goodbye to my home, and left the town behind. The memory of that harrowing night still haunts me, a constant reminder of the darkness that can lurk just beneath the surface of the ordinary. So, whenever I'm driving alone at night, a shiver runs down my spine. I can't help but glance in the rearview mirror, half expecting to see those headlights again. A chilling reminder that some nightmares are all too real.